Welcome to the sixth film in our Wall series, in which we deal with the various treatments given to wall surfaces. Two principles govern the surface treatment of walls. Either they're produced with a finished surface at the construction stage, or they undergo surface treatment at a later date. This photograph shows the bare rear wall of the chancel in our Leipzig Provost Church. The raw concrete finish was too coarse for the contemplative feel we wanted to create, and it was given a finishing treatment. The boundaries between raw and finished brickwork surfaces are fluid. Here you can see a brick wall that was built in one go being cleaned and finished, first with a steam cleaner and then using sandpaper. The image on the right shows exposed brickwork being pointed in a second stage finish using a finer mortar. Here too, the exposed brickwork of the facade was pointed and cleaned after construction, though the structure of the brickwork remains exposed. Its looks and feel are created by the precision of the finishing work. At our school in Feldkirch, we left the concrete surfaces exposed just as they were when the formwork was removed. The untreated surface and the irregularity of the formwork panel joints and panel anchors creates a rough and ready effect. Exposed concrete takes on quite a different look when the formwork is planned and constructed with great time and effort. In the atrium of the Ulm Public Prosecutor's Office, the formwork panel joints are carefully positioned, the tie rod holes are neatly arranged, and concrete admixtures produce a velvety surface. It takes about twice as long to produce this type of fair-faced concrete finish than the one created for the sports hall we saw earlier. One advantage of the surface treatment of walls is the possibility it offers to conceal flaws and the rough edges left after construction. Here you can see a wall made of large format sand-lime blocks laid in thin bed mortar being covered with a thin plaster to conceal the joints in the blockwork. The field stones used to build the walls of the basilica at Vexelburg Priory were very irregular in shape, and so they were covered with a thin mortar into which a regular pattern of joints was then scratched. The natural stone remains visible, but the chaotic pattern of joints is partially concealed. At Karlsruhe University of Applied Sciences, we produced the rougher sections of the facade using a washed concrete technique in which the surface layer of cement was washed away after the formwork was stripped. The smoother areas were treated with acid, leaving a surface reminiscent of sandpaper. The fingerprint was created by placing a positive mold inside the formwork. At our secondary school in Memmingen, we chose an admixture of light-coloured, sharp-edged stone particles and added a black pigment to the liquid concrete. The exposed concrete surfaces were then treated with acid, which removed the pigment from the stone particles, leaving them to sparkle in the sunlight. Concrete surfaces were smoothed to remove all traces of formwork panel joints and anchors. Smooth surfaces of this type can then be painted over. The interior walls of our research laboratory building in Leipzig were painted silver to reflect the high-tech research work that goes on inside it. Smoothed concrete walls can also be given a thick coating of paint to lend the wall surfaces greater depth. The reception area of our Chemnitz police station was painted police green in reference to the official colours of the police, which were still silver and green at the time. When the base surface is very uneven, too uneven to be smoothed, then a thick layer of plaster is used. Interior plaster is generally cement lime or gypsum based and applied in a layer 1 or 2 centimeters thick. This type of plastered finish can be seen here on the rear wall of the chancel of the St. Trinitatis Church in Leipzig, which we previously saw in its unfinished state. The most radical manner of changing a wall surface after it's been built is to clad it in another material. We wanted the church hall at the Provost Church to have a warm and homely feel and decided to clad the walls in oak. As a result, the wall itself and its outward appearance are now two entirely different things. Summary. Two principles govern the surface treatment of walls. They are either produced with a finished surface at the construction stage or undergo surface treatment at a later date. Surface finishes can be achieved variously by sanding, smoothing, plastering and cladding walls. Our next series of films will deal with the elements of architecture. We look forward to seeing you then.